Garth Brooks is a man of the spotlight, of vibrant music that ignites the souls of millions of fans. But behind that image is a person full of emotions, carrying wounds that are difficult to heal. Perhaps the greatest sadness in his life is not the failures in music, but the struggle between the responsibility of being a father and the temptation of the stage. In the 90s, when his name suddenly shined, music became his whole world. He threw himself into endless tours, recorded continuously, and appeared everywhere. But then, in the midst of the vibrant music nights, he realized that he was gradually becoming a distant father. His three young daughters, Taylor, August, and Allie, were growing up without a father figure. His marriage to Sandy Mall, the woman who had been with him since the difficult early days, gradually cracked. Alone in his own home, he felt lost. It wasn't a sudden pain, but a slow, gradual loss that seeped in over the years. Then, in 2000, when he realized that his family was on the brink of collapse, he was forced to make a heartbreaking decision: give up music to devote himself to fatherhood. For an artist like Garth Brooks, music is life. But when he saw his children's tears, he understood that there were things more important than a career. He accepted to step back, even though it meant giving up what defined him. And perhaps those years were the saddest days of his life. Not because he left the stage, but because he realized that he had lost too much time with his loved ones. Even when he returned to music later, he never completely got over the lost time. It was a lingering sadness, a regret that could never be erased. When Garth Brooks burst onto the country scene in the late 1980s, no one could have predicted that he would become one of the genre's greatest artists. Coming from Oklahoma, Brooks didn't have a smooth road. He sang in small bars, fought for recording opportunities, and had to prove that his music could do more than what was expected of him in country music. Then success came, fast and furious. His 1989 debut album quickly catapulted him to new heights, but that was just the beginning. No Fences was released in 1990 and created a sensation. Friends in Low Places became a country anthem, making him an A-list star. In the years that followed, each of his albums broke records and each of his tours sold out. He didn't just sing, he commanded the stage, igniting the crowd with an energy few country artists could muster. But the stage light also came with the dark. With fame came tremendous pressure. Not just singing and performing, he had to constantly innovate, to constantly reinvent himself. Audience expectations grew with each success, and sometimes he felt like he was trapped in his own aura. The most memorable failure of his career was the project Chris Gaines. It was a bold move. He transformed into a completely different character, a rock singer with a fictional story. But the public did not accept it. People did not want to see Garth Brooks become someone else. They just wanted him to be himself. This album became one of the biggest failures of his career. And perhaps, he cried, when he realized that not all creative efforts are well received, that sometimes what we want to do is not always what others want to see. But perhaps his real tears were not because of a failed album, but when he stepped out of the spotlight in 2000. He had it all: fame, money, recognition. But when he faced his family, he realized he had missed out on so much. For the first time in his life, he put everything aside to do something he had never been good at: being a real father. Garth Brooks has never been a quitter. After spending more than a decade with his children, he returned to music, stronger than ever. He proved that a career is not just about the peaks, but also the moments when we are willing to sacrifice and return to our passion when the time is right. And tears, whether of failure or of regret, became a part of his journey. A journey that no one could replace. Garth Brooks did not simply want to become a famous singer. From the very first days of entering the country music scene, he had a burning desire to push country music beyond its boundaries, break the old rules, and make this genre more popular tthan ever. He knew that country music, despite its loyal audience, was still considered a traditional music genre, without the explosion of rock or pop. But with Garth Brooks, music had no boundaries. He combined rock and pop into country, creating a powerful, attractive style that no artist had ever done before. He did not just stand still with his guitar, he ran, jumped, performed like a real rocker, bringing vibrant performances never seen before in country music. The first achievement he set out to achieve was to change the public's view of country music. From his second album, No Fences, 1990, he established himself as an innovator. Friends in Low Places became an iconic song, taking him to #1. Then a series of albums such as Rope in the Wind, 1991, The Chase, 1992, In Pieces, 1993, continued to break all sales limits. He became the first country artist to sell tens of millions of copies for each album. However, his greatest achievement was not just in the sales figures. He was the first country artist to organize a grand tour like a pop superstar. He brought country music to big stadiums, which had previously been reserved for rock and pop artists. He didn't just sing for country music lovers, he sang for everyone. But for Garth Brooks, the most important achievement was not just in his career, it was also in being a good father. He once said that if there was one thing he wanted to be remembered for, it was not the number of albums sold or the number of awards he received, but the fact that he fulfilled his responsibility as a father to his daughters. Therefore, when he decided to leave music in 2000, it was not the end, but an important milestone in his life. He wanted to prove that true success is not only on stage, but also in being able to keep his family intact. Although later, when he returned to music, he continued to set new records, but for Garth Brooks, the greatest achievement he has achieved is seeing his children grow up, being with them, and fulfilling the responsibility of a father that he had missed before. Garth Brooks has always been a man of many emotions. He loves music, loves his family, but also carries the wounds of love and marriage. He has had 2 marriages, both of which are important in very different ways. His first marriage to Sandy Mall was a deep love. They met when Brooks was a young man without a reputation, and Sandy was always by his side during difficult times. She was the one who supported him every step of his career, the one who witnessed him go from zero to the pinnacle of glory. But when the spotlight came, it also brought cracks. The tight performance schedule, the long tours made Brooks increasingly distant from his wife. Sandy once admitted that, during their marriage, there were days when they did not see each other for more than a few hours. They gradually became 2 people living in 2 different worlds, and at some point they had to face the painful truth. Love is not enough to keep a marriage together when the distance is too great. The divorce in 2001 was one of Brooks' greatest sorrows. He not only lost a wife, but also had to face the separation of his family. He once said that the moment he signed the divorce papers was one of the most difficult moments of his life. He did not want to be a father who only saw his children on weekends. That is why he decided to give up music to take care of his 3 daughters wholeheartedly. But love does not always end in tears. After many years of living quietly for the sake of his children, he met Trisha Yearwood again, an old friend, a colleague, and also the person who understood him better than anyone. They had known each other since the 80s, but it was not until they had both experienced the storms of life that they truly realized their feelings for each other. Trisha is not only a wife, but also a companion on every journey of Garth Brooks. She does not try to replace Sandy's role, but accepts that Brooks is a man who has had an important marriage in the past. She understands that love is not just about possession, but accepting each other as they are. However, despite having a happy new marriage, the sadness of the first marriage is always a part of Garth Brooks' life. He has never denied that he made mistakes in the past, that his career caused him to unintentionally hurt the person he loved the most. And perhaps that is something he will always carry with him, as a lesson, a reminder that even in love, sometimes it is not always possible to keep what we want. Garth Brooks has loved, lost, and suffered. But in the end, he found peace in his marriage, not by forgetting the past, but by appreciating the present and learning to love more maturely. If there's one thing Garth Brooks is more proud of than his illustrious career, it's his 3 daughters, Taylor Maine, Pearl Brooks, August Anna Brooks, and Allie Colleen Brooks. In the public eye, he's a shining star on stage, but when he's home, he's simply a father, trying to make up for what he lost during his busy music years. After his divorce from Sandy Moll in 2001, he made a life-changing decision to take a break from music to spend time with his children. It wasn't an easy decision. He was at the height of his career, with millions of fans waiting for his new releases and his big tours. But Garth Brooks knew that if he continued to pursue his career, he would miss out on seeing his children grow up, something that no amount of success or fame could replace. For more than a decade after that, he lived a life that few could imagine for a superstar, taking his